up, guys? My name is Luca Kassab, and welcome back to Fresh on Clips. So the Clippers have had a rough stretch since the All-Star break. Prior to, they were chasing for a 4-5 seed, and now we're struggling to keep the 6 seed. We're fighting for our life. Clippers 1-5 since the All-Star break. Their only win is against the Chicago Bulls, which required a 30-point James Harden performance and a throwback of a second half. And it was way too close of a game. To say the least, Clippers have looked horrible since the All-Star break. Before we get into the actual dynamic, what the Clippers are doing, I want to give a shout out to my boy Jordan Miller for his contract extension. We have been waiting for it since the summer break, since the summer league. We all saw the talent, and now finally he's off that two-way and getting rewarded. Happy to see what these next 4 years could do for the guy, and I'm excited to see the opportunities he can get. Now, let's talk about the actual Clippers. So 1-5, 1-5, it's a scary sight because they were chasing Houston, they were chasing the Lakers, and now we have the same record as Minnesota, as the Warriors, and we're barely in a play-in spot. The play-in is so close right now that the gap between 6 and 10 is one single game. We have a harder schedule coming up too. Our average difficulty of opponent, their winning percentage is a .523, which is top 6 in the NBA for remaining schedule. So what's going wrong with the Clippers? That's the big question. And honestly, I think a big part of it is the lack of identity. I don't think that this Clippers team has a real identity right now. We can point to the fact that Norman Powell, guy who, in my opinion, should have been our all-star over James Harden. He's averaging 24 a game. He's still efficient from the field. He's played much better defense this year. He hasn't played more than one quarter since the All-Star break happened. The big thing with him is he participated in the three-point contest, and then right after the break, you're telling me he's not playing? You see a report out of nowhere that he all of a sudden has a knee injury? And then Ty Lue, he's sitting here, he's saying, well, this knee injury happened before the All-Star break. So why'd he participate in the three-point contest? He needed the rest. He knows what we're aiming towards. And he still went and participated, which angers me a little bit. The big thing is the Clippers just seem to have zero offense without Norman Powell on the court. We're getting an old and tired James Harden who has worked and played as many minutes as possible every night all season long for over 50 games. We have a Kawhi who one night he looks awesome. He's giving you 33 like he did last night. And then other nights, his burst is gone. His legs are gone on his jumper. He's short on every shot. What version of Kawhi are we getting? That's what I ask myself every single night. But I think a big thing that we can point to is the Bogdanovich trade. As someone who was really excited over Bogdanovich because of his past history, the belief that a change of scenery could help him, it's been nothing but disappointing. He's a cone on defense. You see him against LeBron the last two games. LeBron was hunting him. LeBron was getting the switch every single time. The same thing that he was doing to Kevin Porter Jr. before we traded him, he was doing to Bogdanovich, getting the switch, realizing that he's more physical than he is, that he can blow by him, that he can shoot over him. Bogdanovich is a cone. I get Terrence was having an awful season, and I get we got second round picks to take on the Bogdanovich contract, but his defense is horrid. I noted his defense was horrid before when we made the trade, when I was talking about it, but I did not think it was that bad. I thought he was a smart defender. I thought he had great hands, but what I've seen, he's a dumb defender. He's pretty lazy. He's just not vertical athletic enough, and he can't get high enough to do anything. So let's speak on his offensive side of the ball because he's supposed to be a guy who his defense is horrid, but he makes up for it with his offense and his scoring. But he's been so inefficient. Before the trade deadline, he was shooting 31% from three. With the Clippers, he's shooting below 30 at 29.8. 37 from the field, 29.8 from three, 57% from the free throw line. How? And it's not like he's not shooting free throws. He just goes 1 for 2 every time he goes to the line. The Detroit game, actually, before we even talk about that, the Utah game, he looked awesome. He was hitting big shots. He was getting open looks, draining them. And then now we see him to post All-Star break. The Detroit game's the one I'm going to highlight because it's a game we lost by 8 points. His first game starting for the Clippers. And you know what he did? 1 for 12 from three, 6 for 19 from the field, 1 for 12 on almost all open threes. So I sit here, I'm looking at you, I'm looking at all of our fans, I'm looking at Ty Lue asking, why? Why is this dude still playing? He could not buy a jumper. He was 0 for 9 from three going into the fourth, hit one towards the end of the game when the game was over. And you're telling me you're going to throw him back out there? I guess I get we're limited, but you're doing the same thing that he's been doing all season with Amir Coffey and Kevin Porter Jr., overplaying them. That's now what Bogdanovich is doing. He logged 33 minutes last night. He's not good enough to be playing 33 minutes. You can't be a cone on offense and inefficient on cone on defense and inefficient on offense and play that many minutes. Let's combine the two Laker games. 6 for 24 from the field, 5 for 17 from three. They're not horrible numbers, but why is Bogdanovich shooting more shots than Zubats? Last night, Zubats had 2 shots at halftime. Bogdanovich was well over that. I can't. He's right as of now, the Bogdanovich trade has been a failure, though we have gotten 3 second-round picks, which could hopefully be used on a guy like a Jordan Miller, like a Terrence Mann, who's drafted later, but can't provide some form of spark or also some opportunity or some ceiling for a future. Let's talk about Drew Eubanks real quickly. He's just wasn't high on the deal. He has not been good enough. It seems that a lot of teams are attacking him, and that's all I can really say about him. It's not good enough defensively. He tries, but he's not good enough defensively, and offensively, he's a little bit slow. So Ben Simmons, our true backup center, guy who I've loved watching. He's been a great fit for the Clippers, a great secondary ball handler to have. And he's averaging right now 7 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, 1.4 steals. But he has only played in 5 of the 8 games that he was eligible to play in. Part of this is he's not allowed to play back-to-backs, so those are 2 games ruled out automatically. But now he has a back injury that's going to keep him out tomorrow against Phoenix, but also kept him out against the Lakers in a game we really could have used him, especially in the stretch where we went 7 straight minutes without a basket. My big thing with Simmons, though, is I've heard this throughout my life from when he was in Philly to Brooklyn to now. I wish he was more aggressive. Teams give him space. Let's use that space. Let's go attack downhill then. Let's use it as a way to create momentum so we can get yourself an open layup or get someone else a great shot. In regard to Simmons, though, his defense is still very good. He fits as a secondary ball handler, and I really like what we've been getting out of him as a point center off the bench. It's been good to have for taking pressure off of Zoo when he's out of the game, because we'll talk about that right now, actually. When Zoo was on the floor, he was a +10 in the Lakers series. When he was off the floor, he was a -16, and we were a -16. So Zoo's importance shows, but not having Simmons in that second game really also hurt us. So let's talk about James Harden and just the fundamental problem of this team. Harden looks old. He is old, and we've known that all year. I don't like James Harden. A lot of the flaws that he has show now because of his lack of energy, his fatigue. But I won't slander him for the fact that he's played however many minutes he's had to every single night for 50 straight games. The big thing that's killing him, though, is the fact that he has this rule, this like internal rule that he has to play every single game. It shows. He looks fatigued. Outside of that one, actually, that in the Indiana game, he looked pretty good. Since then, the Lakers series, let's put that by itself. Lakers series, 9 for 36 from the field, 3 for 19 from three, and 9 turnovers. You're telling me a dude that we pay $40 million a year, a guy who's supposed to be an all-star, has the same amount of turnovers as made shots in a 2-game series. And it's not like he's not shooting the ball. 9 for 36, 25%. A little over 25%. But I don't understand it. I have Jackson Hayes. I have Zoo come set me a screen. I now have Jackson Hayes guarding me, but there's also a guy like Who was it? Okay. We have Dalton Connect on Zubats in the post. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to throw him the ball because I only give him the ball when I can spoon feed him and know I'm getting an assist because all I care about is my personal stats. No, instead, let's go shoot a jump shot. Let's shoot a step back. Let's airball a step back. Let's continue to force jumpers when my mid range isn't falling and my 3-point shot isn't falling. I'm not getting a good whistle. It's unacceptable. Yesterday, he had a big brain lapse, threw the ball to LeBron, who was out of bounds. But that was just one of his 5 turnovers, 4 turnovers. I'm sitting here like, Harden, buddy, you've done enough for us all season, but it's time. It's time for you to realize you're not the number one option on this team. Hell, you're not even the number two option on this team. You're the number three option. So let's give the ball to Zubats, who, when you gave him the ball in that first game, had 27 and 16, 13 for 15 from the field. Let's, instead of jacking up our step back threes, give the ball to Kawhi Leonard, who's supposed to be our team's star, has 33 points last night. Let's, instead of getting the step back jumper, let's attack the rim, facilitate, either get to our in between game with the float or get someone else an open shot. It's annoying because it's all these traits that I've never liked about James Harden are all showing now because he's fatigued and because Norm isn't playing. There is more pressure on him to score the ball. So all of a sudden he thinks he's that guy and that he should be allowed to do this, that, this. You can do what you want, sure. But when we fall out of the play-in, it is your fault. Let's not forget, this is something that's been annoying me in that Lakers game. We gave up 4 offensive boards on 1 possession because between James Harden, Bogdanovich, and Amir Coffey, they all think they're too good to box out. There are basic fundamentals that you lack. You're a cone on defense. That does not excuse you from boxing out and trying to rebound because I think you're actually pretty good rebounding guard. So box out, put a body on someone, make sure that teams aren't getting second and third chances because at the end of the day, between you, Coffee, and Bogdanovich, that is 3 cones. Well, we're still on the topic of James Harden. Let's talk about the stretch yesterday where we could not score the ball. So Harden has this obsession with I'm going to slow the pace down. I'm this, that, this, because that's how he is. He's a great shot creator. He's a great space creator. In my opinion, one of, if not the greatest scorers of all time. But every time we went on a run yesterday, it was when we started pushing the pace, looking to get out in transition because the Lakers defense is so elite. They have the best defense in the NBA since the All-Star break and since they got Luca. So my thing is, let's push the pace because their half-court defense is elite. We had a stretch where Kobe Miller and Jordan Miller and Kobe Brown came into the game because we needed a spark plug. Chris Dunn had 3 fouls, so he couldn't come back in. It was still the first half. DJJ was out with a groin injury. Ben Simmons out with his back. Norm Powell out with his thigh. So we didn't have many options anyways. So we threw those 2 in, hoping for a spark plug, seeing what the youth could bring us. And while it maybe wasn't the greatest spot to bring him in because it was the Lakers, they really didn't get a chance because it really did feel like every time that they were open, Harden was looking them off because he hasn't played with them enough. He didn't have any faith in them. And they wanted to push the pace. They were running the floor hard. They were trying to push the pace in transition. But every time Harden got the ball, he would slow the game down. And when you have 2 guys who Miller's been with the G League more than anything, Kobe Brown hasn't gotten a ton of minutes this season. It's hard for them to play in a half court when they're not playing games. So why aren't we trying to push the pace? Why aren't we trying to play in transition, James? You're the point guard. You need to see what's working. We had a stretch last night in the 4th quarter where we were on a 10-0 run. We got right back in the game, down by 2. And I was praying because it was still 9 minutes left that Ty Lue would not bring James Harden back in because the way we went on the run was playing great defense and pushing the pace. The lineup of Chris Dunn, Amir Coffey, Bogdanovich, Kawhi Leonard, and Zoo. Great, good-ish defensive group, but also a group that flourishes in transition. I give Amir Coffey a lot of hate for his play, and it's not his fault. It's because Ty overplays him. But he is one thing that I can say he's elite at is playing in transition. That is what gets him his minutes, is he's great in transition. And that's what we were doing. We were running the floor. But then James comes in, and all of a sudden we're no longer running the floor. And that's what annoys me, is it's the slowing down of offense when it's not working. It's the letting the other team set up so you could take your BS step back three over giving our big the ball in the post. Stuff like that. Before anything, I want to give a massive shout out to Chris Dunn. We have no DJJ, and he's been a hooper all year. DJJ and Chris Dunn, both all defensive props. I know Chris Dunn isn't eligible because he hasn't played enough minutes in specific games. 20-minute threshold is stupid, but his defense is elite. But also, you see these teams like the Lakers and him guarding Luca. It reminds me how good Luca is because there's no one in the league who plays better defense on the perimeter than Chris Dunn, and Luca was still hitting shots over him. Chris Dunn had 9 steals between 2 games. He was a spark plug. He had 14 in both games. He was hitting open shots. He was attacking the rim. He was attacking Luca. And that's the big thing, is the guy was attacking the guy on the other team who could not guard and was in foul trouble. Something that it just felt like no one else would do. So I want to give a big shout out to Chris Dunn. We're not in either of those games without him. And he stepped up because we don't have Derrick Jones Jr. with his groin strains. We don't know how long he's not going to be there. But if Chris Dunn is balling like this for the rest of the time he's out, I'm confident in it. So the last thing I want to speak on is the Clippers turnovers. Just way too many every game. Every game, it feels like we have 5 turnovers in the first 6 or 7 minutes of the game. And that falls on the over dribbling of James Harden, falls on the lack of movement in our offense. You saw it yesterday with Miller and Brown in the game. It's a very stagnant offense because everyone is watching James Harden or Kawhi Leonard dribble. That's the big thing, is we don't move enough. And because of that, that's what's making their lives harder, and it's making our offense harder. Too many turnovers because of it as well, because teams can blitz you. So, lastly, Clippers, what they have coming up. The 6th seed, as we said, tied between them, the Warriors, and the Wolves. I think it's going to be really hard for them to keep that 6th seed, though. It's already something that's not favoring them, with Norm Powell slated to miss even more time, DJJ being out for a foreseen period of time, Ben Simmons for who knows how long. Relying on a rotation of a lot of dudes who have not played heavy minutes. Guy like Nico needs to be playing more minutes, but Ty Lue won't ever do it. Mir Coffey and Bogdan Bogdanovic are having to play even more minutes now. So I do think it's pretty unlikely for us to keep our 6th seed with the way we've been playing on both sides of the ball. Offense, our 3-point shooting has not been good enough. That's what has lost us 2 straight games against the Lakers, is the fact we could not hit a 3 for the life of us. And Zoo, when he was getting in the post in the second game, was having 2 sent at him because we could not hit a jumper. But also on the defensive end, feels like the switch everything nature is too heavy. But also just laziness on the boards, on help side. Shouldn't be like that. Now, Ty's no angel anyways. I see Jeff Van Gundy getting pissed off over it too, but I think a part of it comes down to the scheming. There's no reason we should be switching as easily as we are. There's no reason that Zoo should be switching on the other team's best perimeter player, regardless of if he's doing a good job or not, on every single play, and not having your defensive player try and fight through it unless it's Chris Dunn. It's just frustrating. Our defensive game plans feel like they're not changing anymore. We come out at halftime playing the same exact way, just hoping shots are suddenly going to fall, hoping that Kawhi and James Harden are suddenly going to become 2019 versions of themselves. The lack of adjustments has been annoying. The lack of opportunity that we give our young guys is annoying. And the lack of faith that Tyronn Lue has in playing anybody other than a big household superstar name and Amir Coffey is the most annoying thing. This guy right here had a great stretch to start the year. Yes, his rotation spot, there wasn't a spot for him. But the second he had a bad game, Ty Lue used it as a reason to go from a 9 to an 8-man rotation. And then what he does, which is absurd to me, is he throws in the Millers, the Browns of the world, who don't have much playing experience, who are still young guys and need time to play, need time to work through their mistakes. You know what he does? He throws them in our biggest game of the season. No practice or anything. Yeah, neither of them are going to look good because they don't ever play. So here, if Ty Lue, Lawrence Frank, whoever, Jeff Van Gundy, Steve Ballmer, whoever's listening, if you are, have faith in your young guys, because look at the CBs for the Nuggets. Christian Braun. Let's talk about the Julian Strothers. They are high impact players for a championship contending team. Hell, even Dalton Connect is a great dude to throw in because he torched us yesterday. These are guys who, if you give them the chance, let them play through mistakes, give them a longer leash, they will find some form of production for us. And I'm referring more to Jordan Miller than Kobe Brown because I don't think Kobe Brown is that high of a ceiling as a 6'6" center who does not want to shoot the ball. But you give Jordan Miller minutes. You give him a chance to play, space out, play defense, rebound, run the floor, shoot open shots, even attack, facilitate a little bit, something that we've been lacking all year. I promise you, he will come around. There's a reason that we just gave him a 4-year extension. There's a reason that he hoops in the G League every time he plays, but doesn't get an opportunity in the NBA. You have to give the young guys a chance because at the end of the day, we're not championship contenders. Unless Kawhi Leonard becomes 2019, 2021 Kawhi, one of those again. James Harden reverts to somehow being an elite facilitator and getting everyone else open shots. Norm Powell magically gets healthy. DJJ randomly gets healthy. We're not winning a championship. I don't even know if we could win a series. But keep ourselves developing the youth. Keep ourselves away from this Thunder on the playoff bracket. Keep us in that 6th seed. That's all I ask. Please. Clippers have Phoenix tomorrow. Have been 3-11 in their last 14 games. They've been struggling and they're very not competent, but we are 0-3 against them this year. So this is going to be a bad loss for either us or for Phoenix. So don't lose that game. Schedule remains to be hard. Back-to-back against the Pistons as well the following night. So we'll see what the Clippers can do, but time is of the essence, and we need a great record to contend with this Warriors team that is getting hot at the right time. Steph Curry's getting hot at the right time. Jimmy Butler's really changed their culture. Podziemski's hooping. That's all it is. Go Clippers, and let's beat the Suns tomorrow.
Clippers bring it in. 5 seconds to go. Tie game. Seatbelts are fastened. Lou Williams for the win. Bingo!
Oh my goodness.
God, he got it! 1 second left. Clippers by 2.
The three for the tie. Oh my goodness! I don't believe what I have seen!